Is something wrong? Valentina asked, her voice quivering slightly as the ultrasound technician's expression changed. The technician adjusted the wand on Valentina's stomach, eyes fixed on the monitor. I'm detecting something unexpected. Quinn squeezed Valentina's hand, his $3,000 suit suddenly feeling too tight across his shoulders. 6 months ago, she had been cleaning his penthouse. Now they were in a doctor's office confirming a pregnancy neither had planned. The doctor moved closer to the screen, studying the grayscale images with practiced eyes. Well? Quinn asked, his tech CEO confidence wavering. Congratulations, the doctor said, turning the monitor toward them. You're not just having a baby, you're having three, Valentina whispered. Triplets, the doctor confirmed, all with strong heartbeats. The examination room fell silent except for the rhythmic pulsing from the machine. Quinn stared at the screen, showing 3 distinct forms, 3 lives he hadn't known existed moments ago. Valentina's eyes filled with tears. But I'm just starting my career. We've only been together 4 months. Quinn looked at this woman, brilliant, determined, who'd worked as his housekeeper while pursuing her engineering credentials, now carrying his children. 3 of them. Silicon Valley's most eligible bachelor and his former maid. The headlines practically wrote themselves. When he finally spoke, his words surprised even him. We can handle this, he said, a slow smile spreading across his face as he gazed at the 3 tiny heartbeats. Together, what neither realized in that moment was how those 3 unexpected lives would transform everything they thought they knew about love, success, and what truly matters. Hello friends, welcome back to Mr. Ross Story Trail, where we bring you real-life stories that touch the heart and teach valuable lessons. For our new viewers joining us today, this channel is dedicated to sharing powerful narratives that inspire and enlighten. Before we dive deeper into today's incredible story about a wealthy tech CEO and the unexpected journey that changed his life forever, please take a moment to hit that subscribe button and notification bell. Your support allows us to continue bringing these meaningful stories to life each week. Every subscription helps our community grow, and I promise this particular story will show you why staying connected to our channel is worth it. Life can change in an instant, sometimes with just 3 tiny heartbeats on an ultrasound screen. Today's story proves that the most beautiful journeys often begin when we least expect them. Quinn built a tech empire worth billions, but couldn't fill the emptiness in his luxurious penthouse. Valentina cleaned homes while hiding her engineering degree and dreams. Their worlds were never meant to intersect beyond employer and employee. Yet a chance encounter during a power outage revealed what credentials and bank accounts couldn't show. 2 souls connecting despite their different circumstances. As their unexpected romance blossomed against the backdrop of Silicon Valley's judgment, neither anticipated the news that would challenge every plan they'd made. Triplets on the way after just 4 months together. What follows is a story about choices when life doesn't follow your script. How does a rising executive handle becoming an instant father of 3? How does a woman determined to reclaim her professional identity navigate motherhood times 3? And can love that ignites quickly burn long enough to withstand public scrutiny, family pressure, and medical complications? This tale reminds us that life's most profound blessings rarely arrive as expected, and sometimes the path you never planned becomes the journey you were always meant to take. Quinn stood at the floor-to-ceiling windows of his corner office, gazing at the San Francisco skyline as the sun set behind the Golden Gate Bridge. At 34, he was the youngest CEO to ever make the cover of Forbes' 40 Under 43 3 years running. Horizon Technologies, the company he founded at 22, had revolutionized quantum computing and was now valued at over $8.7 billion. The board approved the acquisition unanimously. His COO, Arlo Jenkins, announced as he entered without knocking, a privilege earned through 12 years of friendship. TechFusion security protocols will integrate perfectly with our cloud architecture. Quinn nodded without turning, and their team, eager to join the fold. Their lead engineers practically celebrated when they heard we were interested. Of course they did. Everyone wanted to work at Horizon. The company had topped best places to work lists for 5 consecutive years. Their headquarters featured everything from nap pods to Michelin star cafeterias, climbing walls to meditation rooms. The average salary was double the industry standard, and the stock options had created dozens of millionaires among early employees. The market's already responding, Arlo continued, swiping through his tablet. Stock's up 7% just on the rumors. Quinn finally turned. Schedule the announcement for Thursday morning. I want to personally call TechFusion's founder tonight. Arlo smirked. Already on your calendar, along with the governor's fundraiser, the MIT alumni dinner, and 4 potential investor meetings. Cancel the fundraiser. Send a donation instead. That's the 3rd event you've skipped this month. Quinn straightened his custom-tailored jacket. "Because I'd rather build something meaningful than make small talk with politicians." His assistant appeared at the door. "Your car is ready, Mr. Quinn, and Miss Winters called again about tonight's gala. Tell her I'll meet her there." Quinn gathered his devices. "And reschedule tomorrow's morning meetings. I want to review the new interface prototypes myself before the team presentation." As he strode through the main workspace, conversations hushed. Employees straightened, nodded respectfully, a few brave ones offering greetings. He acknowledged them with practiced cordiality, approachable enough to inspire loyalty, distant enough to maintain authority. The Wall Street Journal had called him the perfect modern CEO. Brilliant without arrogance, innovative without recklessness, wealthy without ostentation. What the profile hadn't mentioned was how methodically he'd constructed this perception, carefully balancing ambition with just enough humility to keep his employees motivated and his investors confident. In the private elevator to the parking garage, Quinn loosened his tie and exhaled. Another successful day managing the expectations of 1,000 employees, dozens of investors, and the ever-watchful tech media. Another day making decisions that would affect global data security for years to come. Another day of absolute control. Quinn's Ferrari purred through the exclusive Pacific Heights neighborhood as evening settled over the city. He could afford any car, but appreciated the engineering precision of this one. Every component designed for optimal performance, nothing excessive or ornamental. His phone buzzed with a text from Vanessa Winters, his date for tonight's charity gala, wearing the blue Versace. "Thought you'd want to coordinate." He didn't respond. Vanessa was the fourth woman he'd dated this year, each relationship lasting the industry standard 3 months before fading into polite distance. Venture capitalist's daughter, former Olympic swimmer, philanthropic heiress, now this art gallery owner. All beautiful, accomplished, socially connected. None who saw beyond the carefully curated image he presented. None who asked why the tech genius with everything never seemed truly satisfied. Quinn pulled into his reserved space beneath his luxury building. The valet nodded deferentially. The doorman greeted him by name. The concierge mentioned packages awaiting his convenience. He moved through these interactions on autopilot, his mind already shifting to the quarterly projections he'd review before bed. The private elevator required his fingerprint and a security code. As it ascended to the penthouse, Quinn checked his messages, 17 emails marked urgent, 9 missed calls, 32 calendar notifications for tomorrow. His life, quantified and organized into digital alerts requiring responses, decisions, approvals. When was the last time something truly unexpected had happened? When had he last felt genuinely surprised, challenged, alive? At night, when sleep eluded him, Quinn sometimes wondered if success had become his most sophisticated prison. Golden handcuffs that kept him performing the role everyone expected: visionary, leader, innovator. The persona had become so seamless he sometimes couldn't remember who he'd been before it. His therapist, discreetly visited at a private practice in Marin County, had asked during their last session, "What brings you joy outside of professional achievements?" He'd been unable to answer. Joy was not a metric he tracked. Fulfillment, perhaps, accomplishment, certainly. But joy? That seemed like a luxury for people with less responsibility, fewer expectations weighing on their shoulders. Quinn poured himself 2 fingers of 30-year-old scotch and stood at his penthouse windows. Below, San Francisco sparkled, a city he could influence with a single press release or product launch. From this height, people were merely patterns of movement, cars just flowing light. Distance provided clarity. Perhaps that's why he preferred keeping everyone at arm's length. The penthouse occupied the top 2 floors of the building, nearly 6,000 square feet of premium real estate, with 360-degree views of the bay, the city, and beyond. Quinn had purchased it as a shell and hired a renowned minimalist architect to design the interior, all clean lines, open spaces, and muted tones. The main floor featured an expansive living area with Italian leather furniture, a formal dining space that could seat 16 but rarely hosted more than business associates, and a chef's kitchen with appliances more advanced than most restaurants. The floating staircase led to the second level with the master suite, home office, and guest rooms that remained perpetually untouched. Quinn moved through these spaces with familiarity but not attachment. Despite the millions spent on design and furnishings, the penthouse resembled a high-end hotel suite more than a home. Nothing out of place, nothing personal except for his art collection, abstract pieces chosen for investment value rather than emotional connection. Elite housekeeping services maintained this perfection 3 times weekly. Quinn rarely noticed the individuals who cleaned. They arrived during his work hours and departed before his return, leaving only the scent of standardized cleaning products and precisely fluffed pillows as evidence of their presence. He set his scotch down on a marble coaster, leaving no ring on the immaculate surface. The silence hummed around him, broken only by the subtle environmental systems maintaining the optimal temperature and humidity for both human comfort and art preservation. Despite its technological sophistication, every light, temperature zone, and security feature controllable from his custom app, the space lacked the intangible quality that transforms architecture into home. No photographs adorned the walls, no books lay casually opened, no music played unless specifically requested through the integrated sound system. Quinn sometimes wondered if visitors sensed the emptiness beneath the luxury, if they noticed how the furnishings looked barely used, how nothing bore the comfortable wear of daily life. But few ever commented, too impressed by the view, the art, the obvious expense of every element. Or perhaps they recognized a truth he rarely acknowledged. The penthouse perfectly reflected its owner, impressive, meticulously designed, admired from a distance but ultimately solitary. What none of his employees or investors knew, what his carefully managed public biography mentioned only as a footnote, was that Quinn had founded Horizon Technologies in a university dorm room 6 months after burying both his parents. The car accident had happened during his sophomore year at MIT. One rainy Boston night, a truck driver fell asleep at the wheel, crossing the median and hitting his parents' vehicle head-on. Quinn had gone from focused student to orphan in a single phone call. The substantial insurance payout and family savings meant he didn't need to worry about money. His academic advisors suggested taking time off, friends offered condolences and distraction, but Quinn had returned to his computer science projects within days, coding through grief-induced insomnia, channeling shock into work. What began as escapism evolved into innovation. The quantum encryption protocol he developed during those sleepless months became Horizon's founding patent. By graduation, he'd secured initial funding. 2 years later, his security framework was protecting government databases. 5 years after that, Horizon had become the industry standard for data protection. Success born from tragedy, fortune built on loss. Quinn rarely spoke about his parents. Their photographs remained in a sealed box in his closet, along with his mother's favorite scarf and his father's collection of vintage fountain pens. He'd preserved these items but couldn't bear to display them, reminders of vulnerability he couldn't afford to show. The public narrative praised his genius, his vision, his business acumen. Few knew that Horizon's name came from his father's favorite saying, "Keep your eyes on the horizon, son. That's where possibility lives." Sometimes, in rare, unguarded moments, Quinn wondered what they would think of the empire he'd built. Would they recognize the boy who once built elaborate forts in their living room? Would they approve of the man who'd constructed walls so impenetrable that even he sometimes felt trapped behind them? Their absence had taught him the most crucial business lesson: control what you can, because everything can be taken in an instant. His company's success, his carefully managed image, his meticulous life, all were fortifications against chaos, against loss, against feeling that helpless ever again. As Quinn prepared for another evening of strategic socializing at tonight's gala, he didn't realize that the most carefully constructed control systems inevitably encounter variables they cannot predict. And sometimes, those variables arrive wearing the uniform of elite housekeeping services, holding engineering textbooks with dreams just as valid as his own. The elegant lobby of the Pacific Heights luxury building felt worlds away from the cramped studio apartment Valentina returned to each evening. At precisely 9 a.m., she checked in with building security, presenting her elite housekeeping services badge with the same professionalism she once showed her engineering credentials. "Good morning, Miss Reyes." The security guard nodded, already familiar with her thrice-weekly schedule. Penthouse access approved. She rode the service elevator carrying her cart of supplies, all premium, eco-friendly products as specified in her client profiles. Elite charged their wealthy clients exorbitant fees for their services, though the housekeepers themselves saw only a fraction of that money. The penthouse was her third assignment of the day. By noon, she would have cleaned 2 other luxury apartments, their owners never present during her scheduled hours. The Quinn residence was different only in its size and impeccable order, almost as if no one actually lived there. Valentina moved through the vast space methodically. She dusted the minimalist furniture, polished the spotless kitchen counters, and vacuumed floors that rarely saw footprints. The owner, a tech CEO according to her supervisor, seemed to exist as a ghost in his own home, leaving little evidence of human habitation beyond the occasional coffee cup in the sink or laptop on the counter. While other housekeepers complained about demanding clients or disrespectful treatment, Valentina appreciated the anonymity of her work. There was dignity in doing a job well, regardless of what that job was. Her grandmother had taught her that, and there was strategy in her choice. Housekeeping allowed flexible hours for studying and paid better than retail or food service. She never touched personal items beyond necessary cleaning. The few glimpses into her clients' lives, prescription bottles, scattered mail, choice of books, she treated with professional discretion. These wealthy people never imagined their housekeeper held a master's degree or could understand the engineering journals sometimes left open on coffee tables. That invisibility served her purpose. No one asked questions. No one expected more than clean surfaces and empty trash cans. The low expectations gave her freedom to focus on her ultimate goal while earning a living. During her lunch break, Valentina sat on a bench in the building's courtyard, textbook open on her lap, highlighter in hand. Other building staff occasionally glanced her way, some with curiosity, others with dismissal. She paid them no mind. They saw the uniform, not the woman, and that was precisely as she intended. For now, the cleaning cart contained more than premium supplies. Hidden in a side pocket, wrapped in plastic to protect it from chemical spills, was Valentina's prized possession, Environmental Engineering, Advanced Systems by Dr. Elise Chen. The book's edges were worn from countless readings, its margins filled with Valentina's precise notations. 6 years earlier, Valentina had graduated at the top of her class from Universidad Nacional Autónoma de Mexico with a master's degree in environmental engineering, specializing in water purification systems. Her thesis on low-cost filtration technologies for rural communities had won national recognition and secured her a promising position with an international development organization. For 2 years, she had designed water systems across Latin America, her work bringing clean water to villages previously dependent on contaminated sources. Her innovations had reduced costs by 40% while improving filtration efficiency, achievements that earned her selection for an elite exchange program in the United States. The program had brought her to California with a prestigious engineering firm. Her colleagues had initially underestimated her, assuming her presence fulfilled some diversity quota. But Valentina's brilliant solutions and tireless work ethic quickly earned their respect. Her supervisor had begun discussing sponsorship for a permanent position and green card. Then came the budget cuts. As the newest team member and a foreign national, Valentina was the first let go, with apologies but no assistance. Her specialized visa tied to her employment became invalid. Returning to Mexico meant abandoning the professional connections and opportunities she'd worked so hard to establish in the U.S. Valentina made the difficult choice to stay, taking housekeeping work while pursuing certification to practice engineering in the States. The American credential requirements meant essentially proving her expertise all over again. Costly exams, additional courses, and mountains of paperwork. During evenings after work, she studied at the public library until closing time. She joined online forums where environmental engineers discussed emerging technologies and approaches. She watched lectures from MIT and Stanford, taking meticulous notes as if still a formal student. Her cleaning clients never saw the woman who could calculate filtration rates in her head or design sustainable water systems for entire communities. They never knew she read research papers in 3 languages, or that she'd once presented at an international conference on sustainable development. That engineering mind analyzed every home she cleaned, noting inefficient water fixtures, outdated climate systems, wasteful practices. Sometimes she imagined submitting reports rather than invoices. Your shower heads waste 4.5 gallons per minute. Upgrading would save 17,000 gallons annually. Instead, she quietly replaced light bulbs, wiped countertops, and kept her expertise hidden behind a polite smile and perfect cleaning record. Every Sunday at 7 p.m., Valentina's tiny apartment filled with the voice of Elena Reyes, her 78-year-old grandmother, via video call from their family home in Oaxaca. "Show me how the plants are growing," Elena would demand, her face close to the camera, silver-streaked hair pulled back in her customary bun. Valentina would dutifully carry her laptop around the apartment, displaying the thriving collection of herbs and succulents that made her rental feel more like home. "The basil needs more sun," Elena would critique, "and you're overwatering the aloe." These weekly calls were Valentina's anchor, reminders of who she was beyond her current circumstances. Elena had raised Valentina after her parents' early deaths, instilling in her granddaughter both ambition and practicality. It was Elena who had sold family land to fund Valentina's university education. Elena who had packed engineering textbooks alongside home-cooked tamales when Valentina left for college. Elena who repeated, "Education is the one thing no one can take from you," like a family motto. The older woman had limited formal schooling herself, but possessed wisdom that transcended academics. She had built a successful plant nursery business through observation, experimentation, and determination, approaching horticulture with an engineer's mindset long before Valentina had learned the term. Every month, Valentina transferred 30% of her earnings to her grandmother's account, not because Elena needed it, but because it honored their agreement. "I invest in you, you invest in our future," Elena had said when selling the land. It wasn't charity, it was partnership. What Valentina never mentioned during these calls was the exhaustion that dogged her steps, the isolation of her current existence, or how she sometimes cried in the shower after particularly difficult days. Elena had sacrificed too much to hear complaints. Results were what mattered, not comfort. When friends from university shared photos of professional achievements and family milestones, Valentina responded with congratulations, but rarely updated her own status. Her timeline remained frozen in the past, the proud graduate, the promising engineer. She couldn't bear posting photos in her housekeeping uniform, or sharing that she cleaned homes once designed by architects who had studied theories similar to ones she'd mastered. Patience doesn't mean waiting, Elena often reminded her. It means working while you wait. So Valentina worked, waited, and every Sunday promised her grandmother that her investment would pay off, for both of them. The calendar on Valentina's refrigerator marked key dates in red: December 15, Environmental Engineering Certification Exam; January 30th, Permanent Residency Application due; March 10th, Engineering Conference. Each morning she woke at 5 a.m. to study before her first cleaning assignment. Each night she practiced exam questions until her eyes burned from fatigue. Each paycheck she set aside money for application fees and certification costs, often cutting her food budget to meet these savings goals. Her studio apartment functioned as study hall, laboratory, and occasional office. The small dining table held her laptop, textbooks, and a detailed study schedule. The kitchen counter displayed a small-scale water filtration prototype she'd built from affordable materials, a potential basis for her certification project. Colleagues at Elite Housekeeping found her intensity puzzling. "You work too hard," her supervisor commented once. "It's just cleaning." Valentina simply smiled, never explaining that her current job was merely a means to an end, not her destination. The local community college provided affordable access to their engineering lab after hours, thanks to a sympathetic professor who recognized Valentina's talent. There, she refined her prototype, ran simulations, and occasionally assisted undergraduate students struggling with concepts she had mastered years ago. Her certification application included letters from former professors and colleagues in Mexico, along with documentation of her previous work. The process was designed to be challenging for foreign professionals, a fact Valentina understood as both bureaucratic protection and subtle discrimination. "They think paper proves knowledge," she murmured to herself, while completing yet another form verifying her educational background. "I'll give them all the paper they need." When discouragement threatened, Valentina reminded herself of projects she'd completed in Mexico and the communities that now had clean water because of her designs. She hadn't lost that knowledge or ability, only the official permission to use it professionally in this country. The recertification process demanded money she earned on her knees scrubbing wealthy people's floors. It required energy she conserved by limiting social activities. It consumed time she carved from sleep and rest. But Valentina approached this challenge like every engineering problem she'd ever solved: identify the requirements, develop a systematic approach, execute with precision, adjust as needed, and never quit until successful. The cleaning cart and uniform were temporary tools, not her identity. The anonymous existence as a housekeeper was a strategic phase, not her destiny. She didn't need anyone to see her potential. She knew exactly who she was and what she was capable of achieving, and soon the rest of the world would know too. The Bay Area rarely experienced storms of this magnitude. Rain lashed against the glass facades of San Francisco's skyscrapers, winds gusting to 40 miles per hour. Streets quickly flooded as drainage systems struggled with the deluge. At Horizon Technologies headquarters, the emergency generators kicked in moments after the main power failed, but not before critical systems experienced disruption. The development team lost hours of unrecorded work. Cloud servers temporarily disconnected, triggering backup protocols. Quinn stood in his office watching lightning illuminate the darkened city skyline. "How long until full power restoration?" he asked his operations director. "Pacific Gas estimates minimum 3 hours, possibly overnight for non-essential systems." "Shut down the non-critical servers to conserve generator capacity," Quinn decided. "Send everyone home except the security team and emergency personnel. The executive meeting about the merger. Reschedule. No point discussing expansion when we can't maintain basic operations." Within 30 minutes, the sleek Horizon building stood largely empty. Quinn's driver waited with the car, but Quinn waved him off. "Take the evening. I'll wait out the worst of the storm here." After another hour of responding to crisis emails from his tablet, Quinn realized the storm wasn't abating. Water now seeped through the executive floor ceiling, a potential disaster for the sensitive equipment housed there. "Get a crew here tomorrow first thing," he instructed the facilities manager by phone. "I'm heading home. Text me with updates." The drive through flooded streets took twice the normal time. Quinn's phone continuously buzzed with alerts, power outages across the city, canceled flights, emergency services overwhelmed. When he finally reached his building, the lobby was illuminated by emergency lighting. The concierge explained apologetically, "The generators are running essential systems only, Mr. Quinn. Elevators are operational, but most amenities are offline." Quinn nodded, his mind already shifting to work he could accomplish from home. As the elevator ascended to the penthouse, he calculated the storm's impact on quarterly projections. Weather-related disruptions typically cost Horizon millions in productivity, even with remote work protocols. The elevator doors opened to unexpected darkness. Apparently, his smart home system had categorized itself as non-essential during the power rationing. Quinn stepped into his penthouse, water dripping from his coat onto imported marble floors. He reached for his phone's flashlight, prepared to navigate through familiar territory now rendered strange by darkness and shadows. That's when he heard movement from within his home. "Hello?" Quinn called, instantly alert. His security system should have prevented unauthorized entry, even during a power outage. A beam of light swung toward him from the direction of his home office. "Mr. Quinn!" a woman's voice exclaimed, startled. Quinn squinted against the brightness. "Who's there? How did you get in?" The light lowered, revealing a young woman in elite housekeeping's uniform. "I'm Valentina Reyes, sir, from the cleaning service. The storm trapped me here when the power went out." Quinn recognized her now, vaguely. She usually cleaned while he was at work. "Why are you still here? Your service ends at 3. The electricity failed while I was finishing the upper level. The electronic locks engaged automatically." She gestured toward the emergency exit. "Building security said to wait until they could override the system. I'm so sorry for the intrusion." Quinn moved into the kitchen, finding candles in a drawer. "Not your fault. Acts of nature supersede scheduling." As soft light filled the space, he noticed what Valentina held against her chest. Not cleaning supplies, but a heavy textbook. "Light reading during a blackout?" he asked, gesturing toward the book. Valentina flushed, instinctively hiding the cover. "Just something to pass the time while waiting." Quinn's curiosity piqued, the first genuine interest he'd felt all day. Environmental engineering, advanced systems, that's hardly casual reading. Her expression changed, surprise replacing embarrassment. "You're familiar with environmental engineering?" Horizon developed water monitoring systems for developing nations 3 years ago. The project required extensive research in filtration technologies. Quinn removed his wet jacket, his CEO persona temporarily forgotten. "Are you studying engineering?" Valentina hesitated, clearly weighing how much to reveal. "I was an engineer, in Mexico, before coming here, and now you clean houses?" "For now," she answered, her chin lifting slightly. "Until I can recertify in the U.S. The power flickered momentarily, then stabilized, enough for emergency lighting but not full systems. Outside, the storm intensified, rain hammering against the windows like a demand for attention. They were strangers suddenly trapped together, employer and employee, CEO and housekeeper, man and woman, seeing each other clearly for the first time. "You must be cold," Quinn observed, noticing Valentina's damp uniform. "I can find you something dry to wear." "I'm fine, thank you," she replied automatically, then reconsidered. "Actually, something dry would be nice." Quinn disappeared into his bedroom, returning with a Horizon Technologies sweatshirt and sweatpants. "The bathroom is—" "I know where it is," she said with a small smile. "I clean it 3 times a week." While she changed, Quinn made 2 cups of tea using the gas stove, one of the few amenities still functioning. The domesticity of the act felt foreign in his hands, so accustomed to issuing directives rather than performing simple tasks. Valentina returned, looking both younger and more confident in the oversized clothes. She accepted the tea gratefully. "Thank you. This is unexpected hospitality." "Unexpected circumstances," Quinn replied, gesturing for her to sit at the kitchen island. "So tell me about your engineering background." The question opened a flood of conversation. Valentina described her water purification projects in rural Mexico, her eyes lighting with passion as she explained technical details most would find incomprehensible. Quinn found himself asking questions, genuinely interested in her innovative approaches to sustainability. "Your solution for the mineral filtration problem is exactly what our development team struggled with," he admitted, impressed. We eventually abandoned that project line because you approached it from a technological perspective rather than adapting existing natural systems, Valentina suggested, momentarily forgetting their respective positions. Instead of taking offense, Quinn leaned forward. Explain. For the next hour, they discussed engineering principles, environmental applications, and practical implementation challenges. The power differential between them temporarily dissolved, replaced by mutual intellectual respect. "Why haven't you applied at Horizon?" Quinn finally asked. "We have an entire division that could use your expertise." Valentina's expression sobered. "Your HR department requires U.S. certification or 10 years of international experience. I have the knowledge but not the documentation they demand." The lights suddenly returned to full power, the smart home system rebooting with a series of electronic tones. Both blinked in the brightness, somehow disappointed by the interruption. "The storm appears to be passing," Quinn noted, glancing at the windows where the rain had lightened to a gentle patter. "I should go," Valentina said, standing and gathering her things. "Thank you for the tea and conversation, Mr. Quinn." "Quinn is fine," he replied, surprising himself. "And thank you for the engineering consultation. Normally, I'd be charged thousands for that level of expertise." She smiled, a genuine expression that transformed her face. "Consider it included in your cleaning service fee." As she changed back into her uniform and prepared to leave, Quinn found himself reluctant to return to his usual solitude. This unexpected encounter had awakened something dormant within him. Curiosity about another person as an individual, not as a business connection or strategic relationship. "Miss Reyes," he called as she reached the door, "about your certification process." "Valentina," she corrected gently. "Valentina," he repeated, the name feeling significant somehow. "I'd be interested in hearing more about your work. Perhaps over coffee sometime?" The question hung between them, far more meaningful than its simple words suggested. It was an invitation to step beyond their prescribed roles, to explore the connection that had sparked during this unexpected meeting. Valentina studied him, clearly weighing possibilities and complications. Finally, she nodded. "I'd like that." Neither realized that this moment, born of storm and circumstance, would ultimately change both their lives forever. Friends, have you ever experienced a moment when life suddenly took an unexpected turn, a chance meeting or coincidence that later proved to be life-changing? Share your stories in the comments below. Did you recognize the significance of that moment immediately, or only in hindsight? Your experiences might inspire others who are waiting for their own defining moment. If you're enjoying this unexpected love story between a tech CEO and an engineer-turned-housekeeper, hit that like button and subscribe to Mr. Ross' Story Trail for more powerful narratives about life's unexpected journeys. Remember, sometimes our greatest blessings arrive disguised as ordinary moments. The morning after the storm, Quinn contacted Elite Housekeeping Services directly. "I'd like to request a change to my service agreement," he informed the manager. "I need Miss Reyes reassigned from my residence." The manager apologized profusely, assuming dissatisfaction. "I assure you, we can send a different housekeeper immediately." "That's not the issue," Quinn interrupted. "Miss Reyes's work has been exceptional. This is a matter of professional ethics." Within an hour, Valentina received a message from her supervisor. "Client in 7742 has requested your removal from service rotation. Please return any access credentials immediately." Her stomach dropped. Had she overstepped during their conversation, said something inappropriate? The connection had seemed genuine, but perhaps she'd misread the situation entirely. When her phone rang with an unknown number, she answered cautiously. "Valentina, it's Quinn." His voice sounded different over the phone, less authoritative, more uncertain. "I wanted to explain the housekeeping change before any misunderstanding occurred." "I received the notification," she replied carefully. "I requested your reassignment because I'd like to ask you to coffee," he explained. "And that seemed impossible while you were cleaning my home. The power dynamic would be inappropriate." The relief in her laugh surprised them both. "So you removed me from your service in order to ask me out properly?" "When you put it that way, it sounds slightly absurd." She could hear the smile in his voice. "But yes, professional boundaries matter." Valentina considered his reasoning. Most wealthy clients viewed service workers as essentially invisible, certainly not as people with boundaries deserving of respect. His consideration impressed her more than his wealth ever could. "Coffee would be nice," she agreed. "But I have conditions. I'm listening. No expensive restaurants where I'd feel out of place. No gifts I can't reciprocate. And this stays between us until we determine if it's worth the complications." Quinn was silent for a moment. "You've thought about this. I clean homes of wealthy people for a living," Valentina reminded him. "I've seen enough affairs and power imbalances to know what I won't accept." Coffee at the Independent Cafe on Valencia Street, he suggested. Saturday at 10? We'll both pay for our own drinks. I'll be there, Valentina agreed, adding with gentle teasing. I assume you know how to function without an assistant making the arrangements? His laughter surprised her. I guess we'll find out. After disconnecting, Valentina stared at her phone, wondering if she'd made a tremendous mistake or taken the first step toward something extraordinary. Quinn arrived at the cafe 10 minutes early, dressed in jeans and a simple sweater, rather than his usual tailored suits. He chose a corner table, oddly nervous. When was the last time he'd met someone without Googling them first? Without an assistant briefing him on their background, interests, and potential business value? Valentina entered precisely on time, her hair loose around her shoulders rather than in its practical work style. She wore a simple blue dress with a cardigan, modest but flattering. Their eyes met, and both smiled with unexpected shyness. You found the place, she observed, sitting across from him. I even ordered my own coffee, Quinn replied, gesturing to his cup. Though I did have to ask what a medium is called here, and discovered it's a great, Valentina guessed, familiar with the cafe's quirky naming conventions. Apparently size inflation applies to coffee terminology too. They fell into easy conversation, avoiding topics of work and status. Instead, Quinn asked about her hometown in Mexico, while Valentina inquired about his college years at MIT. They discovered shared interests in architectural design, documentary films, and spicy food. My grandmother would say you have an educated palate, Valentina told him after he described his favorite Thai restaurant. I'd like to meet this grandmother of yours. She sounds remarkable, perhaps someday. She judges men by how they eat her mole sauce, apparently the true test of character. 3 hours passed unnoticed. When Valentina mentioned her afternoon study session, Quinn walked her to the bus stop, resisting the impulse to offer his driver. I enjoyed this, he said simply. As did I. She hesitated, though I'm still not certain what you're looking for in whatever this is. Quinn considered her question carefully. Authenticity, I think. Something real in a world where most of my interactions feel strategic or performative. Her expression softened. That I can understand. Their second date was a walking tour of urban gardens, Valentina's suggestion. Their third, a robotics exhibition at the Science Museum. By their fourth meeting, a pattern emerged, public places where they could blend into crowds, activities that allowed conversation without pretense, each of them revealing layers gradually. Quinn found himself laughing more than he had in years. Valentina discovered her engineering mind matched perfectly with his analytical approach to problems. They debated technological ethics, environmental sustainability, and the best taco trucks in the city with equal passion. You're different with me than you are in your press interviews, Valentina observed one evening as they shared dessert at a small bakery. That's Quinn, the CEO, he explained. This is just me. I like just you better, she said, reaching for his hand across the table, their first intentional touch. The simple contact affected him more profoundly than he expected. In his world of strategic networking and calculated appearances, genuine connection had become the rarest commodity of all. By their 6th week of dating, maintaining privacy became increasingly difficult. A tech blogger spotted them at a farmer's market, posting a speculative tweet about Horizon's Bachelor CEO seen with mystery woman. Quinn's assistant fielded calls from gossip columns seeking confirmation of his new romance. We should discuss this, Quinn said during their next date, showing Valentina the online speculation. My public profile makes discretion challenging. Valentina studied the grainy photo someone had taken without their knowledge. I knew this might happen. I'm more concerned about how it affects you professionally. Me? I'm worried about your privacy. Quinn, be realistic. When this becomes public, people will assume things about me, that I'm a gold digger, an opportunist. Your board members will question your judgment. Let them, he replied with unexpected fierceness. My personal life isn't subject to shareholder approval. But Valentina's concerns proved prescient. The following week, she received a call from her supervisor at Elite Housekeeping. Several clients have requested you specifically, the woman explained with artificial brightness. They're suddenly very interested in having the same housekeeper who caught Quinn's attention. Meanwhile, Quinn faced subtle questioning from his executive team. The investment committee mentioned some concerns about recent distractions, his CFO noted during a budget meeting. My personal life doesn't affect our financials, Quinn responded coldly. Of course not, the CFO backpedaled, just mentioning their perception. The most difficult moment came when Arlo, Quinn's closest friend and COO, finally addressed the rumors directly during their weekly one-on-one. So, you're dating your former housekeeper, Arlo began without preamble. Her name is Valentina, Quinn corrected, and she's an environmental engineer who temporarily works in housekeeping. Arlo leaned forward. Look, your private life is your business, but perception matters in our position. The board will focus on our 28% year-over-year growth and record-breaking new user acquisition. Quinn interrupted. Not who I have dinner with. Valentina faced her own challenges. Her few friends from the housekeeping service became awkwardly distant, unsure how to relate to someone dating a billionaire client. At the community college where she studied, whispers followed her through hallways. They're calling me Cinderella behind my back, she told Quinn one evening, attempting to laugh it off. People fear what challenges their worldview, he replied, taking her hand. Our relationship doesn't fit their neat categories. Despite the external pressure, they continued building their connection, creating private moments away from judging eyes. Quinn discovered the pleasure of cooking simple meals in Valentina's tiny apartment. She found unexpected joy in teaching him Spanish phrases during quiet evenings. Worth the complications? He asked her one night, recalling her initial condition. Valentina's smile provided his answer. 3 months into their relationship, Quinn invited Valentina to his penthouse, not the pristine showcase she had once cleaned, but transformed into an actual home with his newfound attention to comfort over appearance. You've added plants, she noticed immediately, touching a fern with gentle fingers. They make the space feel alive, Quinn admitted. Like you do. He had prepared dinner himself, a simple pasta dish he'd practiced 3 times to perfect. They ate on his balcony overlooking the city lights, the evening unusually warm for San Francisco. I have something for you, Quinn said after dinner, presenting a small package. Valentina unwrapped it cautiously, revealing a business card holder engraved with her name followed by environmental engineer. For when you complete your certification, he explained. A reminder of who you already are, regardless of current circumstances. Her eyes glistened. Thank you for seeing me, the real me. From the beginning. You saw me too, Quinn replied quietly. Not the CEO, not the wealth, just me. Their kiss began gently, a natural progression of growing feelings, but quickly deepened with months of restrained desire. Quinn's hands trembled slightly as they moved to her waist, this brilliant, powerful man suddenly vulnerable in his wanting. Valentina guided him, confident in this most human connection. I've never brought anyone to this penthouse before, he confessed between kisses. Never? She asked, surprised. This place was never home until now, he admitted. Just somewhere I owned. That night, they discovered each other fully. Scars both physical and emotional. Hopes whispered in darkness, bodies learning the geography of pleasure and trust. Their coming together felt inevitable, yet astonishing, familiar yet entirely new. Afterward, lying in his previously untouched bed, Valentina traced patterns on his chest. I'm falling in love with you, she whispered, the words both offering and risk. Quinn lifted her hand to his lips. I think I started falling that night during the storm, he replied. When you challenged my entire engineering department's approach in one sentence. She laughed softly. Such a romantic. It is romantic, he insisted. Finding someone who makes me think differently, see differently, who makes me want to be worthy of her brilliance. In the weeks that followed, they created a private world between them, one where CEO and housekeeper were simply man and woman, building something neither had expected to find. They established routines. Sunday morning coffee on his balcony, Wednesday study sessions where Quinn helped Valentina prepare for certification exams, weekend hikes in areas where they wouldn't be recognized. You're happy, Arlo observed one day at work, studying Quinn with surprise. Actually, genuinely happy. Yes, Quinn agreed simply. I am. Neither Valentina nor Quinn could have predicted how quickly their carefully constructed privacy would shatter, or that 3 tiny heartbeats would soon change everything they thought they knew about plans, priorities, and possibilities. 4 months into their relationship, Valentina awoke one morning feeling unusually exhausted despite a full night's sleep. She dismissed it as stress. Her certification exam loomed just weeks away, and she'd been studying until midnight most evenings. But the fatigue persisted. During her shifts at Elite Housekeeping, she found herself taking breaks where she previously worked straight through. Simple tasks like vacuuming left her winded. You're looking pale, her supervisor commented one afternoon. Coming down with something? Just tired, Valentina insisted, though privately she wondered if she might be anemic. Her diet had suffered with her busy schedule. Too many quick meals between work and studying. Then came the nausea. It struck without warning during her morning bus commute, forcing her off at an unfamiliar stop to find a public restroom. The pattern repeated the next day, and the next. Food poisoning, she told herself, though she couldn't identify any suspicious meals. At the community college lab where she volunteered, the professor noticed her discomfort. You look green, Reyes. Maybe skip handling the chemical samples today. The strange metallic taste in her mouth became constant. Certain foods, even coffee, her study essential, suddenly repulsed her. Her body felt foreign, her emotions unpredictable. During a phone call with her grandmother, she burst into tears over a minor comment. "What's wrong, Nieta?" Elena asked, alarmed by the uncharacteristic display. "I don't know," Valentina admitted, wiping her eyes. "I've been feeling strange lately." Her grandmother's silence spoke volumes. "It's not that," Valentina said quickly. "We've been careful." "Careful isn't perfect," Elena replied gently. "When was your last cycle?" Valentina reached for her planner, flipping back through the pages. Her meticulous nature meant she tracked everything: work schedules, study hours, exercise routines, and yes, her monthly cycle. The realization hit her with stunning clarity. 6 weeks. She was 6 weeks late. "Oh," she whispered, the room suddenly spinning slightly. "Valentina?" her grandmother prompted. "I have to go," she managed. "I'll call you tomorrow." She sat motionless after hanging up, mind racing through calculations and possibilities. They had indeed been careful, but not perfect. That night after the environmental gala, when the power had gone out in his penthouse, and again during their weekend getaway to Napa, her practical mind took over. No use speculating. She needed facts. The pharmacy near her apartment offered 15 different pregnancy tests. Valentina chose the most expensive one, reasoning that accuracy justified the cost. She added a bottle of prenatal vitamins to her purchase, a scientist hedging her bets while awaiting data. The cashier glanced from the test to Valentina's face, offering a neutral "have a nice day" that somehow felt loaded with judgment. Back in her apartment, Valentina read the instructions twice, then followed them precisely. 3 minutes, the box promised. 3 minutes to potentially life-altering information. She set a timer and paced the small studio, mind cataloging potential outcomes and their implications. If negative, she would schedule a doctor's appointment to investigate her symptoms. If positive, the timer chimed. Valentina picked up the plastic stick with engineer's hands that refused to tremble. 2 lines, clear, unmistakable, definitive. She sat heavily on the edge of her bathtub, test still in hand. A baby. Her career path, her certification plans, her careful timeline for professional re-establishment, all instantly complicated. And Quinn, how would he react? Their relationship was still new, still finding its foundation. They hadn't discussed children, not even hypothetically. Valentina placed her hand on her still flat stomach. Inside her body, cells were multiplying, organs forming, an entirely new life developing. The engineer in her marveled at the biological precision, even as the woman in her tried to process the emotional magnitude. She needed more data before telling Quinn. A blood test to confirm, perhaps an early ultrasound to establish dates. Her scientific mind demanded verification before proceeding with such critical information. The next morning, she made an appointment with a women's clinic, using most of her weekly grocery budget to cover the cost. She would tell Quinn after she had complete confirmed information. That seemed the responsible approach. 3 days later, a doctor confirmed what the home test had already told her. "Congratulations," the woman said warmly. "You're approximately 7 weeks pregnant." Valentina nodded, neither accepting nor rejecting the congratulations. "I'd like to schedule an ultrasound, please." "Any particular concerns?" the doctor asked. "No, I just prefer comprehensive information." The doctor smiled knowingly. "Engineers or accountants, you analytical types always want the complete data set." "Environmental engineer," Valentina corrected automatically. "Well, Engineer Reyes, let's get you that ultrasound." Valentina requested a Saturday morning meeting at her apartment rather than their usual cafe. Quinn arrived with pastries and coffee, immediately noticing her untouched teacup and tense posture. "What's wrong?" he asked, setting down the food. Valentina had rehearsed various approaches, but in the moment, directness seemed best. "I'm pregnant." Quinn went completely still, the words visibly working through his analytical mind. "You're certain?" "Blood test confirmed. 7 weeks." He sat beside her on the small sofa, expression unreadable. 7 weeks, he repeated. "That would be the gala night," she filled in. "When your building lost power." A complex series of emotions crossed his face: surprise, confusion, calculation, and something deeper she couldn't quite identify. How do you feel about this?" he finally asked. Valentina appreciated that he'd asked her feelings first, not immediately centering his own reaction. "Overwhelmed," she admitted. "My certification exam is in 3 weeks. I have plans, a timeline for my career. This isn't what I expected yet." Quinn nodded slowly. "What do you want to do?" The question hung between them, heavy with implications and possibilities. "I don't know yet," Valentina answered honestly. "But I wanted you to know immediately. You deserve to be part of whatever decision comes next." Quinn reached for her hand, holding it between both of his. "Thank you for telling me." He paused, choosing his words carefully. Whatever you decide, I'll support you completely. Financially, emotionally, practically, whatever you need. You're not angry? She asked, studying his face. Why would I be angry? We both participated equally in the creation of this situation. His logical framing made her smile despite everything. So Quinn-like, approaching even this bombshell with rational equity. I have an ultrasound scheduled for Monday, she told him. Would you come with me? The request clearly surprised him. You want me there? Yes, this involves both of us. Quinn's expression softened. Then I'll be there. I'll clear my entire day. The CEO, who rarely adjusted his schedule for anyone, was rearranging everything for her appointment. The realization warmed something deep in Valentina's chest. We'll figure this out, Quinn promised, pulling her gently into his arms. Together, Monday morning found them in the waiting room of a private obstetrics practice. Quinn had insisted on his healthcare network rather than Valentina's clinic, overriding her protests about cost. Please let me do this, he'd said. It makes practical sense to use the best available resources. Now they sat among expectant couples, most visibly further along in their pregnancies. Quinn looked distinctly out of place in his business suit, especially compared to the casually dressed fathers to be flipping through parenting magazines. Ms. Reyes? The nurse called. We're ready for you. The examination room contained standard medical equipment alongside a sophisticated ultrasound machine. Valentina changed into the provided gown, then lay on the table as instructed. Quinn stood awkwardly nearby, clearly uncertain of his role. First baby? The technician asked cheerfully, preparing the equipment. Yes, Valentina confirmed. Dad, you can stand right here, the woman directed, pointing Quinn to a spot near Valentina's head. You'll have the best view of the screen. I'm not, Quinn began, then stopped himself. Thank you. The cold gel on Valentina's stomach made her flinch. The technician moved the wand in practiced patterns, studying the screen with concentration that gradually shifted to surprise. She said, adjusting settings and continuing to move the wand. Is something wrong? Valentina asked, engineer's mind immediately analyzing the technician's changed demeanor. Not wrong, the technician replied carefully. Let me get the doctor. Quinn's hand found Valentina's as they waited, his palm uncharacteristically damp. It's going to be fine, he murmured, though his voice held a rare note of uncertainty. The doctor arrived minutes later, taking over the ultrasound wand. After a moment, she smiled. Well, this explains your elevated hormone levels. What does? Quinn asked. The doctor turned the screen toward them. Congratulations, Ms. Reyes, Mr. Quinn. You're having triplets. Triplets? Valentina repeated, certain she'd misheard. Yes, 3 separate embryos, all with strong heartbeats. The doctor pointed to distinct pulsing shapes on the screen. Here and here. The room seemed to tilt beneath Valentina. Not just a pregnancy, triplets. Not just one life-changing surprise, but 3 simultaneously. She turned to Quinn, expecting shock or dismay. Instead, his expression held something entirely unexpected, wonder. 3 babies, he whispered, eyes fixed on the screen. 3 heartbeats. The CEO who controlled every aspect of his empire, who calculated risks with mathematical precision, who never acted without analyzing all variables. That man was completely undone by 3 tiny flickering pulses on an ultrasound monitor. And in that moment, watching his transformation, Valentina knew with absolute certainty that whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. Friends, life's biggest surprises often come in 3s. Has there been a moment when unexpected news completely changed your plans? How did you handle it? Share your story in the comments below. If you're enjoying this journey of Quinn and Valentina as they navigate this life-changing surprise, hit that like button and subscribe to Mr. Ross Story Trail. The story is just beginning. Wait until you see how these 2 handle the reactions from their very different worlds when news of the triplets gets out. You won't want to miss a single episode of this remarkable journey. 3 babies, Valentina repeated, staring at the ultrasound printout on her tiny kitchen table. 3 simultaneous, completely dependent human beings. 1 week had passed since the life-altering appointment. The initial shock had given way to practical considerations that multiplied as quickly as the cells dividing inside her. Quinn sat across from her, tablet open to a spreadsheet he'd created titled, Triplets, Logistics and Requirements. According to my research, we'll need approximately 12 to 16 diaper changes daily. That's around 5,000 diapers in the first year alone, he reported with CEO precision. Formula, if you choose not to breastfeed, would cost approximately... Quinn, Valentina interrupted gently. I appreciate the analysis, but there are more immediate concerns. She slid her calendar toward him, where her certification exam date was circled in red. This happens in 2 weeks. If I postpone, I lose my application fee and wait 6 months for the next testing period. Take the exam, Quinn said without hesitation. You've been preparing for months, while experiencing first trimester exhaustion and nausea. My concentration is affected. My study schedule is completely disrupted. You're brilliant, even at half capacity, he insisted, and I can help you prepare. Valentina smiled at his confidence, then pointed to the next date on her calendar. My visa extension interview is here. If approved, I have legal status for another 18 months. If denied... She didn't finish the sentence. They both understood the implications. Quinn's expression tightened. We could get married. That would resolve the visa issue immediately. The room fell silent. Valentina studied his face, searching for signs this was merely a practical solution rather than an emotional one. Is that a proposal? She finally asked. It's an option, he replied carefully. One that solves several problems simultaneously. Marriage should be more than problem-solving, Quinn. He reached for her hand. You're right. I apologize for framing it that way. His expression softened. The timing isn't what either of us would have chosen, but my feelings for you are genuine. The babies have simply accelerated considerations that might have come later naturally. Valentina appreciated his honesty. Let's set that option aside for now. There are other immediate issues. Her studio apartment barely accommodated one adult comfortably. 3 infants would make it impossible. Yet moving in with Quinn after only 4 months felt premature, regardless of the pregnancy. Then there were medical costs. Her limited insurance wouldn't cover high-risk multiples pregnancy. Quinn had already offered financial support, but accepting created complications about independence and equity in their relationship. Most pressing was her job. Elite housekeeping provided neither maternity leave nor accommodations for pregnancy. Soon she physically couldn't perform the work. Her savings would cover perhaps 2 months of rent without income. Move into the penthouse, Quinn suggested, reading her thoughts. We'll convert one of the guest rooms into your private space. No pressure to share mine unless you choose to. And my medical costs? Added to my insurance as a domestic partner. Simple paperwork. Valentina sighed. Nothing about this is simple, Quinn. Every solution you offer, while practical, makes me more dependent on you. It's not dependency, he countered. It's teamwork. If our positions were reversed, wouldn't you offer the same? She couldn't argue with his logic, yet something deeper troubled her. My entire adult life, I've been self-sufficient. Even when it was difficult, my identity is tied to my independence. Quinn considered this carefully. What if we formalize arrangements? A written agreement stating these supports are temporary until you complete certification and secure engineering employment. Would that preserve your sense of autonomy? His understanding of her core values, his respect for what mattered to her, was why she was falling in love with him. Valentina nodded slowly. That might help. Let me think about it. She placed her hand over her still flat stomach. We have approximately 7 months to figure everything out. Actually, Quinn corrected gently, multiples often arrive early. The average triplet pregnancy lasts 32 weeks, not 40. So closer to 5 months. Valentina's eyes widened. How do you know that? He gestured to his tablet. Research. I've read 17 medical journal articles on multiple pregnancies since Monday. Of course he had. The man who prepared for everything was already analyzing multiple parenthood with characteristic thoroughness. Despite her anxiety, Valentina smiled. Whatever challenges awaited, Quinn would face them with the same determined competence he applied to everything else. Telling Elena was Valentina's greatest concern. Her grandmother had sacrificed to provide her education, had believed in her professional future. How would she react to news that might delay those plans indefinitely? They set up a video call, Quinn respectfully staying off camera until invited. Abuela, Valentina began, switching to Spanish. I have news that may surprise you. Elena studied her granddaughter's face through the screen. You're pregnant, she stated matter-of-factly. Valentina blinked in surprise. How did you know? Your face has changed. Your cheeks are fuller. Your eyes have that look. Elena leaned closer to the camera. Is the father that wealthy man from the cleaning job? Yes, Abuela. His name is Quinn. He's here with me. Valentina motioned him into frame. Quinn greeted Elena respectfully and carefully practiced Spanish. It's an honor to meet you, Senora Reyes. Your granddaughter speaks of you with great admiration. Elena's assessment was direct. You are older than Valentina. Yes, ma'am. By 6 years. And you intend to support these children properly? Abuela, Valentina protested. It's a fair question, Quinn assured her before addressing Elena again. I will provide everything they need materially. More importantly, I'll ensure Valentina can complete her professional goals, despite this unexpected development. Elena's expression remained neutral. Babies are not developments, young man. They are blessings and responsibilities. You're absolutely right, Quinn acknowledged. I misspoke. Then Valentina added the final revelation, Abuela, we're having triplets. For the first time in Valentina's memory, her grandmother was speechless. When Elena finally responded, her voice softened remarkably. 3 babies at once? Dios mío. She crossed herself, then surprised Valentina by breaking into a wide smile. My nieta never does anything halfway, does she? 3 engineering degrees and now 3 babies. The acceptance in her grandmother's voice released tension Valentina hadn't realized she was carrying. Elena continued, now fully animated, asking about due dates and making plans to travel for the birth. After the call ended, Quinn looked relieved. She's remarkable. I see where you get your strength. We still need to tell your family, Valentina reminded him. Quinn's expression clouded. I don't have family, remember? Just the board of directors who are decidedly not going to celebrate this news. His closest friend and COO, Arlo, proved this prediction accurate. When Quinn shared the news over a private lunch, Arlo's reaction was immediate concern about business implications. 3 babies? With your former housekeeper? The board will have collective heart failure. Arlo rubbed his temples. The timing couldn't be worse with the Asian expansion launching next quarter. I'm having children, not abandoning the company, Quinn replied coolly. Children change everything, especially multiples. Your focus will necessarily shift. Arlo lowered his voice. Look, what about a private financial arrangement? Generous support but minimal public association until after the expansion stabilizes? The suggestion that Quinn should essentially hide Valentina and their children for business convenience ended the lunch abruptly. Never suggest something like that again if you value our friendship, Quinn warned as he left. As news spread through their respective circles, reactions split predictably. Valentina's few close friends offered genuine congratulations tinged with concern about the practical challenges. Quinn's business associates delivered carefully worded acknowledgments that barely masked their judgment about his complicated personal situation. Neither group quite understood what Quinn and Valentina already knew, that life's most meaningful journeys rarely follow convenient or conventional paths. The privacy they'd maintained crumbled when a tech industry blogger spotted Quinn accompanying Valentina to a prenatal appointment. The headline appeared within hours. Horizon Tech CEO's secret romance with former Maid results in pregnancy. The story spread from technology publications to mainstream media within days. Reporters gathered outside Quinn's building. Photographers attempted to follow Valentina from her apartment. Someone leaked her employment records from Elite Housekeeping, revealing her hourly wage in contrast to Quinn's estimated net worth. Social media exploded with commentary ranging from romantic support to vicious speculation about Valentina's motives. Complete strangers debated whether she had trapped one of America's most eligible bachelors, or whether Quinn had taken advantage of an employee. Don't read the comments, Quinn advised, confiscating Valentina's phone after finding her scrolling through particularly cruel Twitter threads at 3 a.m. How can they judge us without knowing anything about our relationship? She asked, tears threatening. People project their own issues onto public figures, Quinn explained, holding her close. Their opinions have nothing to do with us and everything to do with their own insecurities. The media attention intensified when an anonymous source revealed the pregnancy involved triplets. Medical experts who had never met Valentina appeared on morning shows discussing the high risks of multiple pregnancies. Financial analysts calculated the potential impact on Horizon's stock value. Privacy became impossible as every aspect of their relationship underwent public dissection. Quinn's public relations team advised an official statement and controlled interview with a sympathetic journalist. Valentina initially resisted. Privacy had been her preference from the beginning. But as misrepresentations multiplied, she reluctantly agreed. The resulting profile, published in a respected business magazine, presented their relationship with dignity. The writer highlighted Valentina's engineering background and academic achievements alongside Quinn's less-known personal history of building his company after losing his parents. We didn't plan this timing, Quinn acknowledged in the interview, but we're fully committed to each other and to our children. The article helped shift the narrative somewhat, though skepticism remained. As Quinn noted afterward, the truth rarely travels as quickly as sensationalism. As Valentina's pregnancy progressed, Elite Housekeeping regretfully reduced her hours, citing client concerns about her condition. The thinly veiled discrimination came with suggestions she considered less demanding work. Quinn was livid. That's illegal. We should sue them. And spend months in legal proceedings while being painted as difficult? Valentina countered practically. I need to focus on my certification exam, not a lawsuit. She passed that exam, scoring in the 92nd percentile despite morning sickness and media harassment. The achievement should have opened professional doors, but initial job applications met with strange responses. They Google me and find the pregnancy stories instead of my qualifications, she realized, after a particularly awkward interview where the hiring manager had asked more about Quinn than her engineering experience. Meanwhile, Quinn faced his own professional challenges. 2 board members requested a special meeting without him, raising concerns about his judgment and focus. Key investors questioned the timing of the Asia expansion, suddenly hesitant despite previous enthusiasm. They're using the pregnancy as an excuse to push their own agendas, Quinn confided to Valentina. Johnson has wanted to delay the Singapore office for months. Most troubling was the subtle shift in how his executive team treated him. People who had previously sought his input now made decisions independently, claiming they didn't want to bother him with details during this personal time. Quinn addressed this directly in an executive meeting. My personal life has not affected my professional capabilities. Anyone making decisions without proper authorization will be removed from the project. Is that clear? The message landed effectively, but the underlying tension remained. Late one night, Quinn found Valentina standing by the penthouse windows, tears streaming silently down her face. "What's wrong?" he asked, immediately concerned about the pregnancy. "I had a dream," she admitted. "I was drowning in diapers while watching other engineers receive awards for innovations I should have created. I was invisible, just the triplets' mother, never the brilliant engineer again." Quinn held her carefully. "That won't happen. We'll find solutions. Night nurses, childcare, flexible work arrangements. Your career matters as much as mine." "Does it?" she challenged. "Everyone assumes I'll stay home with the babies while you continue building your empire. The world makes space for fathers to pursue ambition. Mothers face different expectations." Her fear touched Quinn's own unspoken anxiety. "I'm terrified too," he confessed. "My parents died when I was 19. I have no model for fatherhood, let alone raising 3 children simultaneously." "You never talk about them," Valentina observed gently. "Because it hurts," he admitted. "They never saw what I built. They won't see their grandchildren. Some days I still feel like that lost college student, pretending to know what I'm doing." The vulnerability in his confession, this man who projected nothing but confidence to the world, moved Valentina deeply. She rested her head against his chest. "Maybe that's what will make us good parents," she suggested. "We both know what it means to face unexpected challenges, to rebuild plans when life changes everything." Quinn placed his hand over her growing belly. "I keep thinking about who these 3 people will become, what they'll create, discover, contribute. 3 little revolutionaries," Valentina smiled through her tears, "with your brilliance and determination, and your vision and resilience." They stood together at the window, watching the city lights below, both contemplating the family they were creating, unexpected, unconventional, and increasingly precious to them both. "We'll figure this out," Quinn promised, the phrase becoming their shared mantra. Together, Valentina nodded, finding strength in his certainty. Whatever challenges awaited, career complications, public judgment, or the practical demands of raising triplets, they would face them as they had begun. 2 people from different worlds finding common ground in mutual respect, growing affection, and now shared purpose. At 27 weeks, Valentina woke with a throbbing headache that over-the-counter medication couldn't touch. Her ankles had swollen dramatically overnight, and putting on shoes became impossible. "It's normal in pregnancy," she assured Quinn, who frowned at her puffy feet, "especially with triplets." By afternoon, her vision blurred momentarily while reviewing engineering job applications. Blaming eye strain, she took a short break, only to find the symptoms worse when she returned. Quinn arrived home that evening to find Valentina on the sofa, her face noticeably swollen. "It's been making strange sounds," she mumbled, speech slightly slurred, "like bells or buzzing." Quinn recognized the danger signs immediately. He'd read about pregnancy complications extensively. Without alarming her, he calmly suggested they visit the hospital just as a precaution. In the car, he called her obstetrician, describing symptoms with clinical precision while keeping his voice steady. The doctor agreed to meet them at the emergency entrance. Events accelerated upon arrival. Valentina's blood pressure reading caused immediate concern, 168 110ths, dangerously elevated. Blood tests revealed protein in her urine. The diagnosis came quickly, preeclampsia, a potentially life-threatening pregnancy complication. "We need to admit you immediately," the doctor explained. "Preeclampsia can progress rapidly, risking seizures, organ damage, and placental abruption. All 4 of you are at risk." Valentina, normally so analytical, struggled to process the information through her headache and growing anxiety. "The babies are only 27 weeks, she whispered. "Too early. Our goal is to extend your pregnancy as safely as possible," the doctor assured her. But you need to understand, your health comes first. If your condition worsens, we may need to deliver early. As nurses transferred Valentina to a high-risk maternity bed, attaching monitors to track her vitals and the triplets' heartbeats, the reality of their situation crystallized with terrifying clarity. This wasn't just uncomfortable swelling or pregnancy fatigue. This was danger, immediate and severe. Quinn held her hand as medical staff worked efficiently around them, his face composed despite the fear evident in his eyes. "You're going to be fine," he promised, "all four of you." For the first time since they'd met, Valentina couldn't summon her usual strength and independence. She squeezed his hand, suddenly grateful for his steady presence as the monitors beeped around them, each sound a reminder of how quickly their world had changed. Quinn's executive assistant received the call at 6:30 a.m. the following morning. "Clear my calendar indefinitely," he instructed. "Family medical emergency." "But sir, the Singapore investors arrive tomorrow. The contract signing. Arlo can handle it. Transfer all pending decisions to him with my provisional authority. The board meeting on Thursday will happen without me. Send my regrets." Quinn ended the call and returned to Valentina's hospital room, where nurses were adjusting her medication. The night had been tense, her blood pressure spiking despite initial treatments. The maternal-fetal medicine specialist had outlined a concerning scenario. Each day extended the pregnancy improved the triplets' outcomes, but increased Valentina's risks. "I can't leave," Quinn told her after the medical team departed. "Not until you're stable. Your Singapore expansion can proceed without me. The company existed before this crisis and will continue during it." He pulled a chair beside her bed. "Nothing matters except you and our children right now." Valentina studied his face, seeing determination replace his usual calculated restraint. This man who measured each business decision against profit projections and market analyses now made instant choices based purely on emotional priorities. Throughout that day, his phone buzzed constantly. Board members expressing concerns about optics, the CFO requesting input on acquisition targets, journalists seeking comments about his absence from key meetings. Quinn handled each briefly, never leaving Valentina's room. When Arlo called about the Singapore investors' hesitation without Quinn's personal assurance, his response was uncharacteristically blunt. "Tell them if Horizon's success depends solely on my physical presence rather than our superior technology and business model, they should invest elsewhere." Valentina dozed fitfully under medication, waking to find Quinn still beside her, reviewing medical research articles about preeclampsia management on his tablet. "You don't need to stay constantly," she told him, concerned about his rumpled appearance. "The doctors are excellent." "I'm exactly where I need to be," he replied simply. For a man whose calendar was typically scheduled in 15-minute increments months in advance, who rarely adjusted plans for anyone, this complete reprioritization revealed something fundamental changing within him. The CEO who built his identity around professional achievement now measured success differently, by the steady beeping of fetal monitors and the slow stabilization of Valentina's condition. On the third night of hospitalization, with Valentina's condition cautiously improving under strict bed rest and medication, they talked more honestly than ever before. The hushed hospital room, with its dim lighting and rhythmic monitoring sounds, created an unexpectedly intimate space for truth. "I'm scared," Valentina admitted, something she rarely verbalized. "Not just about health risks, but about everything after. 3 babies needing me simultaneously while I'm trying to establish my career. Becoming defined solely as a mother rather than an engineer. Losing myself in their needs." Quinn listened without interrupting, a skill he'd developed specifically for her. "I worry my ambition makes me selfish," she continued. "Shouldn't a good mother prioritize her children above career aspirations? My grandmother sacrificed everything for my education. Shouldn't I do the same?" "Your professional identity isn't separate from motherhood," Quinn replied thoughtfully. "It's part of who you are, who our children will know. They deserve a mother fulfilled by both family and work, not someone who resents lost opportunities." His understanding surprised her. Most men would expect their children's mother to focus entirely on family. "I'm not most men, and you're not most women." He smiled slightly. "Conventional expectations created neither my company nor your engineering innovations." Later that night, when pain medication lowered Valentina's usual defenses, she asked about his parents, a subject he rarely discussed. What would they think of all this? Us, the babies, everything happening so quickly? Quinn was silent so long she thought he might not answer. When he finally spoke, his voice held rare vulnerability. "My mother would have loved you immediately. Your intelligence, your determination. She was a mathematics professor who believed education could transform lives." He paused, memories visibly surfacing. "My father would have been practical but supportive. He built his construction business from nothing, understood hard work and sacrifice. They sound wonderful, Valentina said softly. They were. Quinn looked directly at her. Their absence taught me that time is precious, relationships matter more than achievements, and love should never be postponed for more convenient timing. He placed his hand gently on her stomach, where their 3 children grew. I've built my life around control and planning, but the best things, meeting you, these babies, came from unexpected circumstances I couldn't have engineered. These midnight conversations continued throughout Valentina's hospitalization. They discussed childhood memories, professional disappointments, secret hopes. They planned nursery layouts and debated educational philosophies. They acknowledged fears about parenthood and shared dreams for their unlikely family. In the strange suspended reality of the hospital room, their relationship deepened beyond romance or practical partnership into something more profound, a true meeting of minds, hearts, and shared future. After 2 weeks of intensive treatment, Valentina's condition stabilized enough for conditional discharge. The prescription was strict: home bed rest, daily monitoring, weekly clinic visits, and zero stress, a challenging regimen for someone accustomed to constant productivity. Quinn transformed his penthouse guest suite into a comfortable recovery space where Valentina could rest while remaining connected to daily life. He installed hospital-grade monitoring equipment, hired a private nurse for daily visits, and rearranged furniture to accommodate her limited mobility. The health crisis forced adaptations in their relationship dynamic. Valentina, fiercely independent since childhood, had to accept help with basic needs. Quinn, accustomed to solving problems through financial resources and executive decisions, faced medical realities no amount of money could control. "I hate feeling helpless," he confessed one evening, after a concerning monitoring reading had sent them back to the hospital for evaluation. "Welcome to my daily experience," Valentina replied with gentle humor. "Being pregnant with triplets is basically surrendering control of your body to tiny dictators." Their shared laughter, a moment of lightness amid medical concerns, represented their evolving approach to challenges, facing difficulties honestly while finding joy where possible. Quinn attended virtual board meetings from Valentina's bedside, developing a new leadership style that delegated more authority to his executive team. Valentina turned her engineering mindset toward designing a triplet-friendly living space that maximized efficiency with limited mobility. Together they interviewed pediatricians, researched childcare options, and prepared for multiple scenarios: premature delivery, extended bed rest, various medical outcomes. Their planning discussions became a form of hope, a way of asserting control within uncertainty. The crisis also redefined their support system. Elena arrived from Mexico, moving into the penthouse to help care for Valentina. Arlo, initially skeptical about Quinn's relationship, became a regular visitor, bringing work updates alongside surprise treats for Valentina. Most surprisingly, several women from Valentina's former housekeeping team organized a rotation, bringing home cooked meals and company during Quinn's unavoidable work commitments. These connections, crossing boundaries of class, culture, and circumstance, created a community around the unexpected family. As they navigated each day of the high-risk pregnancy, both Valentina and Quinn discovered strength they hadn't known they possessed. Not the familiar strength of independence and achievement, but the deeper resilience found in vulnerability, acceptance, and mutual support. Friends, life's greatest challenges often reveal our true strength and priorities. Valentina and Quinn faced a terrifying health crisis that forced them to reevaluate everything: career ambitions, relationship dynamics, and personal values. Have you experienced a moment when adversity revealed what truly matters? When difficulty actually strengthened your relationships rather than weakening them? Share your story in the comments below about a time when facing a challenge together brought you closer to someone you love. Our most meaningful connections often deepen not during easy times, but through overcoming obstacles together. If this part of Valentina and Quinn's journey resonates with you, hit that like button and subscribe to Mr. Ross Story Trail for more powerful stories about love, resilience, and unexpected blessings. Their journey is far from over. 3 little miracles are about to change everything. At 34 weeks, remarkably extended for triplets thanks to vigilant medical care, Valentina's doctor made the decision. "Your blood pressure is climbing again despite medication," he explained during a routine check. "We need to deliver today." Quinn, who hadn't left her side during the appointment, immediately activated the birth plan they'd meticulously prepared. Within an hour, Valentina was prepped for a C-section, medical team standing by for each baby. "I'm ready," she told Quinn as they wheeled her toward the operating room, though her voice trembled slightly. "I'll be right beside you," he promised. Already dressed in hospital scrubs, the delivery room buzzed with focused energy. 3 neonatal teams positioned and waiting, the surgical team efficiently preparing. Quinn held Valentina's hand throughout the procedure, his usually composed face revealing every emotion as the doctor announced, "Here comes the first one." A tiny cry filled the room at 3:47 p.m. "Baby A's a girl," the doctor announced, briefly showing them a squirming, red-faced infant before whisking her to the waiting specialists. "She's perfect," Valentina whispered, tears streaming down her face. 4 minutes later, at 3:51 p.m., their second daughter arrived with a surprisingly robust wail for her 4-pound frame. The final delivery came at 3:55 p.m. Their son, slightly smaller than his sisters but with a healthy cry that made Quinn's composed facade finally crumble. 3 perfect babies, the doctor confirmed. All with excellent initial APGAR scores despite their early arrival. The neonatal teams worked efficiently, assessing each infant while providing Quinn brief glimpses of his children. Valentina, still undergoing surgical closure, could only see them from afar. "All 3 are breathing well on their own," a nurse reported. "The best possible news for premature infants, though they'll need NICU care to regulate temperature and monitor feeding." Later that evening, with Valentina recovering in her private room, Quinn wheeled her to the NICU for their first real meeting with their children. 3 incubators contained 3 impossibly small humans, each connected to monitoring equipment that tracked their progress. "Would you like to touch them?" the NICU nurse asked, showing them how to place their hands through the incubator ports. Valentina reached for her firstborn daughter, gasping softly when tiny fingers reflexively gripped her fingertip. Quinn's hand hovered tentatively over their son, as if afraid his touch might somehow harm the fragile infant. "It's okay," the nurse encouraged. "They need your touch. It helps stabilize their vitals." When he finally placed his hand gently on his son's chest, feeling the rapid heartbeat beneath paper-thin skin, Quinn experienced an emotion he'd never encountered in all his years of achievement and success, a love so overwhelming it physically hurt, coupled with fierce protectiveness that made every other priority instantly secondary. "We need names," Valentina reminded him softly. They had discussed options during her bed rest, but made no final decisions. Now, seeing their children, the choices seemed clear. "Isabella," Valentina said, touching their firstborn. "After my mother." Quinn nodded, then looked at their second daughter. "Sophia, for my mother." For their son, they had chosen Raphael, honoring Valentina's grandfather, the man whose belief in education had inspired Elena to support Valentina's engineering dreams. Isabella, Sophia, and Raphael Quinn entered the world 7 weeks early, but surrounded by preparation, medical excellence, and parents whose unexpected journey had prepared them for this moment in ways they couldn't have imagined 6 months earlier. The birth announcement Quinn's team released included a carefully selected photograph, Quinn in simple clothing rather than his usual business attire, holding all 3 newborns in the NICU while Valentina looked on from her wheelchair. His unguarded expression, awe mixed with vulnerability, captured something universally human. Horizon Technologies CEO Quinn and environmental engineer Valentina Reyes welcomed triplets Isabella, Sophia, and Raphael on Thursday evening. "Mother and babies are doing well. The couple requests privacy during this special time." The image and straightforward announcement transformed public perception almost overnight. Headlines shifted from tech CEO's complicated personal situation to tech leader embraces fatherhood of triplets. Social media users who had previously criticized now commented on Quinn's evident love for his children and partner. "I didn't expect this response," Valentina admitted, scrolling through surprisingly positive comments while pumping breast milk for the NICU babies. "People respond to authenticity," Quinn observed. "We've never been a scandal, just a genuine love story with unexpected timing. Even business publications revised their narrative. Articles that previously questioned his judgment now praised his modern approach to work-life integration and commitment to family values alongside professional excellence. A profile in a prominent magazine captured this shift perfectly, featuring Quinn holding the triplets while discussing Horizon's latest innovations. The article highlighted his modified work schedule, running board meetings via video conference from the NICU family room, reviewing contracts during midnight feedings as evidence of evolved leadership rather than divided attention. Most surprising was how their story resonated across disparate demographics. Working mothers appreciated Valentina's determination to maintain her professional identity alongside motherhood. First-generation immigrants related to her journey of rebuilding credentials in a new country. Even traditional family advocates found something to appreciate in their commitment to their unexpected children. The couple who had once generated controversy by crossing social boundaries now represented something many found inspiring: adaptation to life's unpredictable turns with grace, determination, and mutual support. 3 months after the triplets' birth, while they remained in the NICU growing stronger daily, Valentina received an email that brought tears to her eyes. "Congratulations," it began. "We are pleased to inform you that you have successfully completed all requirements for certification as a professional environmental engineer in the state of California." She had completed her final exam requirements from her hospital bed just days before delivery, convinced she had failed due to stress and distraction. Instead, she had scored among the top percentile of applicants. "I did it," she whispered, showing Quinn the notification on her phone during their daily NICU visit. He beamed with genuine pride. "I never doubted you would." Elena, who had extended her visit to help with the babies, celebrated by bringing champagne to the penthouse that evening, pouring just a small glass for Valentina, who was still recovering and pumping milk. "To my brilliant granddaughter," Elena toasted, "who masters engineering problems and creates 3 perfect humans simultaneously." The certification represented more than professional validation. It symbolized Valentina's refusal to surrender her identity and ambitions despite life's unexpected complications. Throughout pregnancy complications, bed rest, premature delivery, and NICU visits, she had maintained her focus on long-term goals. Quinn had mounted and framed her certification beside her engineering degree from Mexico, creating a display in the home office they now shared. The gesture acknowledged what he had seen from their first meeting during the power outage, that her professional achievements were integral to her identity, not secondary to her role as mother or partner. "The triplets will grow up knowing their mother is both brilliant and determined," he told her, watching as she admired the framed credentials. "You're showing them that parenthood and professional excellence aren't mutually exclusive." As the triplets grew stronger and approached their discharge date, Valentina began reviewing job opportunities. Quinn had discreetly mentioned possibilities at Horizon's environmental division, where expertise would be welcomed. "I could create a flexible position," he offered. "You could even work from home initially while the babies are small." Valentina appreciated his support but felt uncertain about working directly for her partner's company. "Would your team respect me as an engineer, or see me as the CEO's girlfriend who received special treatment?" The question required honest consideration. Quinn's influence would inevitably affect how others perceived her within his company, regardless of her qualifications. The answer arrived unexpectedly. During a support group for NICU parents, Valentina met Carlos Mendez, founder of Aquapura Solutions, a growing startup developing water filtration systems for communities affected by industrial pollution. Their conversation began with comparing notes about premature twins versus triplets, but quickly shifted to engineering when Valentina mentioned her background. "We're actually looking for someone with exactly your expertise," Carlos mentioned. "Our filtration system works conceptually but needs refinement for real-world implementation." He described challenges that aligned perfectly with her graduate research. When Valentina explained her need for flexibility with newborn triplets, Carlos surprised her with understanding. "My wife and I designed our company culture around family priorities after our NICU experience," he explained. "Flexible hours, remote work options, on-site childcare for when you're comfortable bringing them in. We believe brilliant minds shouldn't have to choose between parenthood and professional contribution." The opportunity seemed ideal. Meaningful work aligned with her values, a family-friendly culture, and most importantly, a position earned through merit rather than connection. When she discussed the offer with Quinn that evening, his response revealed his growth over their months together. "It sounds perfect for you," he said without hesitation. "Completely independent from my influence, doing work that matters to you." "You're not disappointed I won't be at Horizon?" she asked. "I want you to succeed on your own terms," he replied sincerely. "Your achievements should belong fully to you." Valentina accepted the position with Aquapura, negotiating a gradual return beginning with part-time remote work while the triplets adjusted to home life. The role offered intellectual challenges, environmental impact, and the professional identity she had fought to maintain throughout her journey. On the day she signed her employment contract, Quinn surprised her with a custom-designed business card holder engraved with her name and new title, Valentina Reyes, Environmental Engineering Specialist. "For your fresh start," he said simply. The gift represented his understanding of what mattered most to her, recognition of her complete identity as both the mother of his children and a professional with her own distinct path. Together, they were creating a family defined not by conventional expectations, but by mutual respect for each other's dreams, shared commitment to their children, and the understanding that true partnership means supporting individual growth alongside their journey together. The garden of Elena's home in Mexico bloomed with vibrant colors under the warm afternoon sun. Simple white chairs faced an arch woven with local flowers. No elaborate decorations adorned the space, only the natural beauty of the countryside where Valentina had grown up. "Are you nervous?" Elena asked, adjusting Valentina's simple lace dress. About marrying Quinn? No. Valentina smiled. About the triplets staying quiet through the ceremony? Absolutely. As if summoned by their mother's concern, 1-year-old Raphael began fussing in his aunt's arms nearby. Sophia reached toward a butterfly floating past, while Isabella studied the flower petals strewn along the pathway with scientific concentration. The wedding they had postponed until the children's first birthday had deliberately avoided grandeur. No press, no business associates, no lavish reception, just 30 close friends and family gathering to celebrate a union that had already weathered more challenges than most marriages face in decades. Quinn waited beneath the flower arch, looking more relaxed than Valentina had ever seen him. Gone was the formal CEO persona, replaced by a man in a light linen suit holding his daughter Sophia, who tugged playfully at his tie. When the simple music began, Valentina walked toward him, carrying Isabella, while her cousin followed with Raphael. No formal procession, no giving away, just a family coming together to formalize the bond they had built through unexpected circumstances and deliberate choices. We gather to celebrate what life has already made clear, the officiant began. That love comes when we least expect it, that families form in many ways, and that the strongest unions grow through challenges faced together. Their vows, written together during late-night feedings and early morning walks with 3 strollers, acknowledged their unusual beginning. I promise to see you fully, Quinn vowed, the brilliant engineer, devoted mother, an extraordinary woman who changed my understanding of success. I promise to build our future with the same determination we used to create this family, Valentina responded. Honoring your dreams alongside mine, finding balance together. When Isabella began squirming during the ring exchange, the guests laughed rather than minded the interruption. When Raphael reached for the flowers during their kiss, the moment became more perfect for its imperfection. The celebration afterward featured home-cooked Mexican dishes prepared by Elena and neighbors, music from local musicians, and 3 babies, who became the center of attention, passed lovingly between guests until they fell asleep in portable cribs beneath a shaded tree. Not exactly the society wedding people expected from you, Arlo commented, sipping local tequila beside Quinn. It's exactly what we wanted, Quinn replied, watching Valentina dance with her grandmother. Authentic rather than impressive. The wedding made no headlines, appeared in no society pages, generated no business opportunities. Yet for the couple who had once navigated media scrutiny and public judgment, this private celebration held more meaning than any elaborate event could have provided. 2 years into parenting triplets while building their respective careers, Quinn and Valentina reflected on their journey during a rare quiet evening on their terrace, the children finally asleep after a busy day. What's the most important thing you've learned? Valentina asked, curled beside him on the outdoor sofa. Quinn considered the question carefully. That control is mostly illusion. I built a company believing I could manage every variable, prevent every problem through sufficient planning. Then 3 tiny humans showed me how quickly priorities can shift. He smiled, remembering the board meeting he'd conducted by video while holding a feverish Raphael. The business world treats uncertainty as weakness, but acknowledging we can't control everything, that's actually strength. Valentina nodded. I've learned that independence doesn't mean doing everything alone. I was so determined to prove myself without help, to never appear vulnerable. Now I understand that accepting support isn't weakness, it's wisdom. She thought about her Aquapura colleagues who adjusted schedules during the triplets' ear infection epidemic, her grandmother who visited regularly to help maintain cultural connections, even Quinn's assistant who organized their complicated family calendar with remarkable efficiency. We've created something better than either of us could have built separately, she observed. That's the ultimate lesson, isn't it? Quinn replied. That the strength of what we build together exceeds what we could accomplish individually. The wisdom they gathered through their unexpected journey informed everything. Their parenting approach, professional decisions, and relationship dynamics. They learned to prioritize purpose over perfection, authenticity over appearances, and connection over control. Most importantly, they discovered that life's most meaningful paths rarely follow conventional routes or timetables. On the triplets' second birthday, Quinn and Valentina announced the launch of the New Horizons Educational Foundation, dedicating initial funding of $10 million to support immigrant professionals recertifying in STEM fields. Our family began when an accomplished engineer was cleaning houses because her foreign credentials weren't recognized, Quinn explained during the foundation's launch event. Imagine the talent, innovation, and contributions our economy loses through these artificial barriers. The foundation provided scholarships, professional mentoring, exam preparation resources, and childcare stipends, addressing both financial and practical obstacles facing skilled immigrants. Valentina served as the foundation's board chair, bringing first-hand understanding of the challenges faced by international professionals. Her engineering perspective shaped programs focused on measurable outcomes rather than merely inspirational messaging. "We're not asking for special treatment," she clarified in her first public interview about the initiative. "We're creating pathways for qualified individuals to contribute their expertise fully." The foundation partnered with universities, professional certification boards, and forward-thinking companies to create streamlined processes for credential recognition. Quinn leveraged his business network to secure internship opportunities for program participants. Within 18 months, the foundation helped 37 engineers, 22 healthcare professionals, and 41 scientists achieve certification in their fields. Each success validated their vision that removing unnecessary barriers benefits not just individuals but society as a whole. For the couple who crossed boundaries of class and expectation in their own relationship, the foundation represented their commitment to expanding opportunity beyond their personal experience. Their unexpected love story had evolved into a mission with impact far beyond their family. On the 3rd anniversary of their first coffee date, Quinn surprised Valentina by recreating the moment at the same corner table in the independent cafe where they'd begun. "Remember when you insisted on paying for your own drink?" he teased. "I needed to establish clear boundaries," she replied with a smile. "The wealthy client dating his housekeeper. We needed ground rules." They laughed at how formal they'd been initially, how carefully they'd navigated the power dynamics between them. Looking back, they could appreciate the wisdom in that caution, even as they marveled at how naturally their connection had developed despite their different backgrounds. "If someone had shown me our future that day," Quinn mused, 3 babies, a foundation, our home filled with engineering textbooks and children's toys equally, I might not have believed it possible. "Would you change anything?" Valentina asked. "The timing, the public attention, the complications?" Quinn considered her question thoughtfully. "No," he finally answered. "The challenges shaped us, both individually and as partners. We built something stronger precisely because it wasn't easy." Valentina nodded in agreement. "My grandmother always said, the most valuable things never come simply. Our path proved her right. They had overcome judgment from others, medical emergencies, career complications, and the constant demands of raising triplets. Through each challenge, their connection had deepened, their mutual respect grown, their partnership strengthened. Their journey, beginning with a power outage and chance conversation, had evolved into a shared life neither could have planned, but both now treasured beyond any achievement they had previously valued. Friends, some of life's greatest blessings arrive when we least expect them, often in packages we never imagined. Quinn and Valentina's journey reminds us that love doesn't follow convenient schedules or respect social boundaries. It simply arrives, offering a... If this story of unlikely connection growing into beautiful family has touched your heart, please hit that subscribe button and join our community here at Mr. Ross Story Trail. Every week, we share powerful stories that remind us how life's most meaningful journeys often begin with unexpected turns. Remember, sometimes the path you never planned becomes the journey you were always meant to take. Thank you for traveling this road with Quinn, Valentina, and their triplets. Your support makes these stories possible. 5 years after that stormy night when a power outage brought together a tech CEO and an engineer working as a housekeeper, Quinn stood in the doorway of their home, watching Valentina help the triplets with their first science experiment. Isabella carefully measured water into test tubes while Sophia recorded observations in her notebook. Raphael, always the hands-on problem solver, adjusted their makeshift filtration system with intense concentration. The scene captured everything their unexpected journey had created, not just a family, but a testament to embracing life's unplanned moments with courage and grace. Their story defied conventional wisdom about relationships. They hadn't met through carefully curated introductions or algorithmic matching. They hadn't dated for years before considering children. Their backgrounds, circumstances, and life plans couldn't have been more different. Yet in those differences, they found complementary strengths. In the challenges they faced, medical emergencies, public scrutiny, career complications, they discovered a partnership more meaningful than either had experienced in more suitable relationships. Their love wasn't remarkable because it crossed social boundaries, though it did. It wasn't special because it produced triplets, though they brought immeasurable joy. What made their connection extraordinary was their mutual willingness to recognize value in the unexpected, to adapt plans without abandoning dreams, and to build something beautiful from circumstances others might have rejected as too complicated. Life rarely delivers its greatest gifts in expected packages. Sometimes the most perfect beginnings emerge from what appears to be terrible timing. Sometimes, crossing paths with someone entirely outside your planned journey becomes the most important turn you'll ever take. Quinn and Valentina's story reminds us that the most meaningful connections often develop not despite challenges, but because of them. That sometimes what looks like an interruption to your carefully constructed plans becomes the foundation for something far better than you could have designed. Their journey, from that first conversation during a blackout to building a family, careers, and foundation together, demonstrates how embracing unexpected turns with openness rather than resistance can lead to extraordinary destinations. Friends, thank you for joining us for this moving story on Mr. Ross' Story Trail. If these reflections on unexpected love and life-changing moments touched your heart, please subscribe to our channel for more powerful narratives that illuminate the beauty in life's unplanned journeys. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Has an unexpected meeting changed your life's direction? We'd love to hear your story and welcome you into our community of storytelling enthusiasts who believe that sometimes the most beautiful parts of our lives are the ones we never saw coming. Until next time, remember that the greatest adventures often begin with a single unexpected moment. All you need is the courage to say yes when life offers something different than what you planned.